What's drawing people from around the world to the southern Chinese city? As Shenzhen prepares to host APEC 2026, I will explain later what APEC 2026 means, but people are flocking to this fishing village turned tech powerhouse of China. Home to such big names as Huawei, Tencent, DJI, the drone maker, and BYD, and many other tech giants, the city has grown from China's first special economic zone to a global hub for innovation and advanced manufacturing. And the momentum seems to be spiking. In the first 7 months of this year, Shenzhen has recorded some 850,000 trips by visitors from Asia-Pacific regions alone, up over 30% year-on-year, a record high for sure. What's special about this city? Has it become a regional or even global hub for innovation and the exchange of ideas? And why does it matter to you? Welcome to this special edition of The Point with me, Lu Xin, an opinion show coming to you live from Beijing. I'm pleased to be joined from Auckland, New Zealand by Antti Fiedler, Associate Professor at the University of Auckland and Director of the New Zealand Asia Institute. From Shenzhen by Fabien Pacoury, Executive Vice President of CCI France Chine, or the French Chamber of Commerce and Industry in China. And here in the studio by Zhou Mi, Deputy Director of the Institute of American and Oceania Studies at the Chinese Academy of International Trade and Economic Cooperation. The warmest welcome to all of you. So, let me go to Professor Fiedler first. I understand you are about to set foot in the city of Shenzhen with your students for the very first time, although you have been studying China for a long time. So why Shenzhen for you and your students?
We will visit Shenzhen to learn about China, not just as a consumer market, but also as a place to connect, build relationship, and get access to knowledge and know-how that could enable New Zealand companies to grow and get access to knowledge that is not available here in New Zealand. So we hope that we can be inspired and learn from Shenzhen's success over the last decades to become a benefit.
Yeah. Why specifically Shenzhen, though, not other Chinese cities, not Beijing, not Shanghai, not Anhui, province or somewhere else?
What is exciting is that Shenzhen has really become one of the leading hubs for new technologies and for innovation, and we believe it's a very dynamic and entrepreneurial city.
All right. Mr. Zhou, let me go to you then, because Shenzhen, for many people, it's very familiar, but for some others, maybe it's quite new, not like Shanghai and Beijing. It is in southern China, in the province of Guangdong or Canton. It is 1 hour drive away from Hong Kong. It is a very young city. The average age is 30-something. It's 2.5 the size of New York City. Its population is 18 million, 10 times that of Silicon Valley. But tell us more about this city, exactly why this city is buzzing at this moment.
Well, as you mentioned about that innovation and the young people, I think that about 20 years ago, I went to Shenzhen and I always noticed that so many young people there and working on the street. I think that they are having many energy to trying to create their own businesses. So I think this time we choose Shenzhen to be one of the most important, the summit for the APEC is that we are trying to let the world to know more about Shenzhen. And Shenzhen is one of our super large cities, as you mentioned, about the population and also a lot of enterprises. I mean, that is not just coming from the government action. It's really coming from the market. The people are gathering there. They have more abilities to deal with the new technology. I think that is what they are very attractive. And they have the neighbor of Hong Kong. So that position or location has made it a real attractive place for the incoming capitals and more people to come here by the professionals or different kind of businesses.
Fabien, you have actually chosen to live in China, or you have been living in China for the past 20 years, and you go to Shenzhen on a weekly basis. What has that done to you as a French business person and someone who studies China? What does that do to you?
It's a wonderful place. It's a wonderful mega city in a mega region. It's very exciting to be here. It's very fascinating because Shenzhen is a city full of technological innovation. It's a real hub connecting the dots in Asia Pacific, and it's a city, also young city, as you say, full of speed, full of velocity, full of hardware, of sensors, of software, of experiment, and full of talent. So, and yeah, full of new kind of engineers for this new innovation hub, and it's great. Yeah, it's very exciting to be here.
APEC, for many people, APEC, although it has been around as a non-profit forum for exchange of ideas and policy coordination since the 1980s, still not many people understand about APEC. Professor Fiedler, let me go to you. How important is APEC as a platform? Why does it matter that we gather the economies of the Asia-Pacific region to come and meet and talk about policies and, potentially coordinate their policies?
For places like New Zealand, it is incredibly important for our well-being and economic growth. As you know, New Zealand, we are very far from other major markets, and to have the rules-based system of trade and the opportunity to trade is tremendous important. So for us, APEC is one of the key cornerstones for our growth strategy.
Mr. Zhou, again, more details about APEC. For instance, there are 21 economies around the Asia-Pacific region: China, the United States, Russia, Japan, the Republic of Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, for instance. Of course, many other ASEAN countries and countries in the Americas that's bordering the Pacific Ocean. So what's the connection of bringing APEC economies or leaders of APEC economies to Shenzhen? What is China potentially, sharing with the world as a story or as some kind of inspirational opportunities?
Well, I still remember that about 12 years ago, in the year of 2014, we held the APEC Beijing meeting or Beijing summit. I think during that time, we have provided the world with some kind of solutions. Like one of them is about the green development on the supply chains. So in the past, everybody is looking just for the green trade, green manufacturing, but we are trying to make all these things together to connecting with supply chains. So we have the first demonstration in Tianjin. I think that is one example we can share the world with what we are having. Well, this time we chose Shenzhen because Shenzhen is really a different city compared with traditional cities like Beijing, Shanghai, and Tianjin, because Shenzhen is aiming for the future industries, for some of the technology, for the innovation-based development. So I think this time we are really giving the world some possible understanding about how can we try to benefit from this innovation, and could we do more to support the innovation in a better way. And under such kind of uncertainties about the protectionism, unilateralism, we are really saying that there are so many things we need to do to give the world more confidence. So I think that's some of the reasons we are choosing Shenzhen as a city for this APEC summit.
Fabian, what is your opinion as the choice of the city of Shenzhen for the world economy going forward? Is China trying to tell or send a message to the world that, this is where the future is, this is where we need to pull our resources, pull our intelligence and try to work together? What is your take?
Yes, absolutely. Shenzhen is now a great example. It's now a new model, a modelization of innovation. But this APEC forum is based about concerning digital and green technologies. And also Shenzhen is a great example of systemic orchestration with green environment and efficiency of agility. So yeah, when we see in Shenzhen all those successful technology breakthrough, innovation, patent, all those strategic innovation clusters, when we can see also those industrial ecosystem, Shenzhen is definitely the right model and the right example to inspire the world.
How do you explain the 30% jump of visitors to Shenzhen since the beginning of this year, Fabian, from your understanding? Are people coming here to do business, to look at, to do tourism, or as Professor Fiedler might do, to show students around, to do some fact finding, to see the place, to understand China? What is your understanding of what's going on here? Because 30% is a big number, right? And where do you think primarily these people coming from?
I think, yes, definitely. Nowadays, Shenzhen has a great soft power, I would say, because we can see online on social media a lot of EV cars, a lot of robots, a lot of things happening happening now in Shenzhen, and people are very curious. They want to see what's happening because it's like a new frontier. It's like a new world of innovation and modernization. So people are very excited to see that. Yes, definitely.
Professor Fiedler, what are the questions you are looking for answers for? And also from the New Zealand point of view, what potentially can be the opportunities for cooperation, for collaboration between the cities in New Zealand and Shenzhen, or between the country of New Zealand and China?
I believe New Zealand and China, we share a lot of values. We both have a very strong commitment to sustainability, and we have complementary resources. So New Zealand, we have a lot of ideas and inspiration for entrepreneurship, but what we lack here is scale, and Shenzhen can offer us that. So I believe that there is an opportunity for us that we can learn from Shenzhen. It offers us a window into the future, not just for China, but also for the future of the global economy. So I believe that for New Zealand, it's really important to have these relationships with cities like Shenzhen because we have a lot to gain from it.
Are you one of the pioneers, one of the first people to organize this kind of trip, or are you one of the few that are taking, the risks, in whatever sense you can think of? Are there a lot of interest from your colleagues or from the students to come to Shenzhen and find out about the city?
It's really important and a very good question. We have to understand that the people-to-people relationships between China and New Zealand, they go back many, many decades. I think in 1850, 1860, many Chinese migrants came to New Zealand when we had the gold rush. And we have a very strong diaspora in New Zealand that is well integrated. And these people-to-people connection have really built the foundation for that long-term trust and partnership between China and New Zealand. I wouldn't say I'm a pioneer, but I'm very passionate about strengthening the relationship and build on what we have already achieved.
I understand. It's not easy to push for new things, new ideas, especially when sometimes the political economy, the political environment may not be the most conducive, but we always need to try to understand other cultures. Mr. Zhou, Shenzhen here is not very political, it's very much economic and technological. Everybody is talking about BYD, for instance. It just had a big debut in Paris where it's fascinating and people are finding it really unfathomable sometimes that a car producer based in Shenzhen. Actually, I was in the museum in BYD, and 2 decades ago, for instance, it was a very, very small factory, but it has grown in unimaginable scale and speed. What exactly, if you can, using one sentence, decode the secret of how Shenzhen makes it possible?
Well, in my understanding that the Shenzhen is providing a very free environment to let all these enterprises decide what they are going to do, and they provide some kind of public infrastructure to support that, so the companies can have more choices.
Can you have an example? Can you give us an example, for instance?
Yes, like when we're trying to talk about BYD as one example, BYD started from making the batteries, but when they are seeing that the policies of the government is really attractive, they are trying to transfer from building the batteries into building the whole vehicles. So the government is supporting that with more people, talents, and they support them with the laboratory ability cities. So I think that is one area. And for another area about the market, the government is helping the BYD to expand their market even outside of China. So they're really supporting that company to start from a very limited areas into our wider range.
Are you talking about subsidies here, though, when you say the government is helping companies to expand, globally or overseas? What exactly are you talking about? Because people will have questions, right? People will have doubts.
No, it's not just the subsidies. I think that they are really taking the companies to outside to the exhibitions abroad and also to introduce these businesses to the foreign market. I think that not just the administrations, but also CCPIT, like the promotion committee of the government, is trying to bridge the demand and the consumption. I think that is really our kind of ways that we are using.
If you're going to give a number, for instance, if we say the success of a company is on a scale of 10, what of that 10, how many points of that 10 would you give to the enterprise, and how many of that would you give to the government? Mr. Zhou here.
I think that I will give 8 points to the enterprises, and also the 2 points to the government, because the enterprises are the main factor.
Fabian, what is your understanding? Why, in such extraordinary terms, this city, against the backdrop of that Greater Bay Area, has stood out as an enterprising hub for Chinese tech startups and tech giants?
I think what is important for open regionalism and for the link between China and APEC is to have tighter technology ties. And because we are entering the fifth industrial revolution, and it's what now we try to reach something like the globalization 2.0. So I think, Shenzhen is a perfect hub, is a perfect place to have a multidisciplinarity, transdiscipline, interoperability, to share a different model, different access to technology, different ideas, different tech dynamism. So yes, I think it's a great place for people to share, to dialogue, for research institutions and universities together.
Can you give an example?
You see, we have in Shenzhen a lot of in strategic innovation clusters between universities and private sectors, and everyone here can share partnership and cooperation to collaborate, to some kind of cluster of talent and innovation. And I think it's a great location for this. It's for digital infrastructure and to a combination, a convergence of technology. It's difficult to replicate this elsewhere.
Is it possible, or is it not, or is it very difficult?
I think it's possible to try to duplicate this, but it's not at this point, at this time. Now Shenzhen is the real place to be concerning where we can share about biotech, healthcare, logistics, supply chain, EV cars, AI, humanoid robots. Even agri-tech, pharma-tech, food tech. Shenzhen is a new Babylon of different energies and different innovation together. And it's a great way to see how we can the real economy is integrated with technology in the region. So it's a good example for open regionalism.
Open regionalism, Professor Fiedler, would you put it that way? Is that what you're trying to find out more about?
I believe it's really the combination. On the one hand, when you look at Shenzhen, it's a very dense ecosystem. You have a lot of different forces. You have very smart policy reforms. You have multinational companies. You have many entrepreneurs. You have vibrant universities. You have talent flowing in. You have a neighborhood to Hong Kong. But then you also have openness where it's attracting a lot of people because it has made such good advancement for technology, and that creates opportunities for knowledge spillover. So you have agglomeration economy where you really have the dynamism that in a way makes that happen. And I believe what Fabian said earlier, in a way, we can't replicate Shenzhen that easily, but we can learn from the logic. So the logic is about link and learn. You have, in a way, players who are mutually creating value, they recombine knowledge, there will be knowledge spillovers across different actors and industries, and that makes it so successful.
Mr. Zhou, what do you think of the kind of inspirations that Shenzhen can give? Is Shenzhen a really isolated case or a very much a product of China's active, top-down approach, but also allowing the market to be the decisive force of where the economy is, where resources are allocated? How does the story Shenzhen reflect the broader growth story of China?
Well, in my understanding, that Shenzhen is really our place to trying to find something that other places haven't been doing. So it's kind of a creation, some new space, some new channels for competition. So it's not just trying to maintain its position as before. Well, when I'm discussing about the technology, about the talent, I think that it's also need to know that the manufacturing basis of Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau, these Great Bay areas, is very important for Shenzhen to realize its abilities from the technology, from the laboratories into the market practitioner. So these are what they are really giving the world so many opportunities and so many successful stories.
You just mentioned the keyword competition, and you actually hear a lot of talk about how competitive the environment is. And if you look at the numbers, it's very scary. For instance, for the city of Shenzhen, it has 2,600 AI enterprises and over 1,000 core robotics companies. And there are, many more I can name, but I think these two numbers are already very telling. Is it possible for any company to survive in this kind of environment and still, stand out? And Fabian, I want to go to, is it not like a Shark Tank in a way for enterprises and for entrepreneurs?
No, I don't think so. I think it's great because you need competition, you need friction. It's from the friction that people can try to do their best. And this also can, let some appear some great new practices, management practices, best practice. So it's through competition and also economic cooperation that it's possible to see some great things coming.
And Professor Fiedler, what is your take on the ecosystem and the kind of, fierce competitiveness that I just mentioned everybody's talking about? Is there anything that can be learned from there in your mind, or is something that is probably too much?
From my research, what I know is that often entrepreneurs, they leverage knowledge and talent that is based within Shenzhen, but they also leverage their own home country advantages and global linkages. So what entrepreneurs would do, they maybe would build their business in Shenzhen, but they often would then export technology from Shenzhen in markets such as Africa, and they provide solution for home country. And this unique combination makes it very hard for competitors to exactly copy the same business model, because the entrepreneurs also have their own knowledge about foreign markets, for example, that is hard to just replicate. So this gives distinct combinations of ecosystems where you leverage Shenzhen to other places that is not so easily to copy. So I believe there is an opportunity really to create global companies using Shenzhen as a hub.
Yeah, Mr. Jomi, how do you look at the kind of integration that has been taking place behind the growth of Shenzhen as a city, but also the regional supply chains and foreign investors here?
Well, I think that there are two forces. That Shenzhen is leading the ways of innovation, and they require some of the manufacturing abilities, which is supported by the supply chains beside it. And also another force is coming from the manufacturing themselves. They want to upgrade, they want to change, they want to have a better optimization of the using of the resources. So these two forces are coming to Shenzhen to integrate it there, and they attracted so many talents to go to that place. So this is kind of integration.
And the momentum is spiking, as I said, over the past few years. Speed has really been picking up. If you look at the BYD, for instance, it has already surpassed Tesla as the world's largest EV maker, and it's eyeing the position as the world's biggest automaker. Where's the limit for companies such as BYD and for cities such as Shenzhen? Is it a bubble, Mr. Zhou?
I don't think that there is a bubble. They are really creating more demand. And if you're looking at demand or the voices from many countries, they really want to import more electrical vehicles from China. I think they really want to have that because they have promised to have a better and green development. So they need to transfer from the fossil fuels into the new energies.
Fabienne, what is your take when you look at the kind of speed and scale of the growth in Shenzhen? What is the biggest challenge then?
For sure, they need to keep the pace. They need to continue to there is such level of innovation already. So, but I'm very confident. I'm very positive because when we see what's happening concerning the advanced material, advanced manufacturing, future industries, new biotech companies in Shenzhen, we know that this ecosystem is here to stay, because is here to keep a certain activity, because it's so rich and so abundant nowadays that especially with new technology like AI and robots, we know that it's not going to disappear as fast as is arrived. And China is now a solution provider, a solution exporter, and this is also it's transforming something. It's a transformation benefit to other countries. It's very exciting.
Let me do the job of my Western mainstream media colleagues and ask the question, at what cost? Fabienne, I'm directing this question to you. The speed of Shenzhen, the growth of Shenzhen, at what cost? Is it a sustainable growth?
I think it's sustainable because it's, Shenzhen is very green nowadays. Shenzhen is full of clean energies. Shenzhen respects the UN SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals. And there is a special system orchestration and full of efficiency for energy consumption. And I think, we can say that this ecosystem is sustainable.
And finally, Professor Fiedler, on top of learning from Shenzhen, from China, and I want to go to our guest in New Zealand, on top of learning from cities such as in China, what are you looking for in other parts of the world, and what are the pieces in your map for the future that you want to show to your students?
I take students since more than a decade to different cities in Asia. We also visited, for example, Shanghai in the past. I believe for me, Asia is a really hot spot as a larger region because it does complement really the knowledge and the products and services we offer here. So there's these complementary knowledge and skills. So for me, Asia is the future. And I think there's a lot to learn, that the West can really look to Asia and learn from Asia.
All right. Thank you so much for this interesting discussion. We tried to scratch the surface, but the city of Shenzhen is fascinating. I've been there a couple of times, but I've yet to understand the real, gist of the story. Hopefully, we'll continue to dig further into that subject. Many thanks to my guest, Antje Fiedler, Associate Professor at the University of Auckland and Director of the New Zealand Asia Institute. From Shenzhen, Fabienne Packery, Executive Vice President of CCI France Chine, and here in the studio, Zhou Mi, Deputy Director of the Institute of American and Oceania Studies at the Chinese Academy of International Trade and Economic Cooperation. And with that, we come to the end of this edition of The Point with me, Liu Xin, coming to you from Beijing. As always, you can follow us on Facebook and X using the handle Liu Xin in Beijing. On behalf of the whole team, thank you for watching. You've got The Point.